As a runner, I'm sure you would have heard the term cross-training before. Maybe some of your friends have told you should be doing some, your coach probably told you should be doing some cross-training. But what is cross-training? How can you fit it into your training? And how can cross-training make you a better runner? If you are new to the channel, first of all, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Vlad Excel and I'm an elite runner, ultramarathon runner, uphill skier, and a strength for runners coach. And in today's video, we're going to dive into cross training and seeing how it can improve your running. So what is cross training? Cross training is pretty much, it could be anything. It could be walking your dog, it could be kayaking, doing yoga, it could be cycling, the elliptical machine in the gym. Anything, I guess, that is not an impact on your body can be considered as cross training. And you're probably thinking to yourself, but why would I do cross training? There's obviously few reasons why you'll be doing cross training. One of them is definitely for recovery. So it's a great way to recover, which we're going to get through in the video. Another way is actually building a cardio base. And also it's a great way of improving strength in different areas in your body that can help you as a runner. What I think is a really good thing about cross training is that it helps us bridge the gap to a new distance. So for example, if you're a 5K runner or you've just ran a 5K race and you want to get to that 10K distance or the half marathon distance, you can actually bridge that distance gap with cross training. So for example, you don't have to start running 10K every day. What you can be doing is still run the same distances as you were running before, but add on cross training. So you might add on some cycling or some swimming. So you start building up that fitness base. So your fitness base goes from here to here, and that means that you can start taking on to a higher distance, a longer race. That could obviously mean that you can go from the marathon to an ultra marathon by increasing your training time, but you're not actually running a lot more, so you're not kind of putting your body under a lot more pressure of the impact, because running is a very, very high impact sport. So in that way, you're kind of increasing your fitness base without all the impact that comes from running. Cross training is also a great way to stay fit or relatively in shape during your off season. So let's say, for example, you've ran all your races for the year. Over Christmas, in winter, it might be a good time to take it a bit easier on the running, but then you can increase some of the cross training at the same time. So you're giving your body a rest from the impact of running, but you're still building up that endurance base, which is probably one of the main key differences between really good elite athletes and amateur athletes, is that fitness base. Obviously speed and all that is another video, but that base is very, very important. So you almost want to consistently train throughout the year. Like let's say 50 weeks out of the year, you want to be fairly active. Doesn't mean that you're running 50 weeks out of the 52 weeks a year, but you want to stay moving. You want to be active, and that could be mainly through cross training in a lot of those off-season times. So it's a great way for you to be able to keep building up that aerobic base, that strength base, that fitness base, even when you're not running as much. So you definitely want to keep this up, and year after year, you will see that running just becomes a lot easier because your base is just so much wider at this point. Another good thing about cross training is that it can be used as recovery. So for example, you are training for your first marathon and you are running 5 days a week. A good way to improve recovery is on those 2 days that you're not running, add in a 30-minute cycle or a 45-minute walk or a yoga class or a long hike. That way you're getting more blood flow in your body. So that means that you're going to be fresher for that next run. Even though it sounds like you're doing extra training, if you keep the intensity obviously low, it means that you're just getting blood flow through your legs, you're just getting everything kind of moving again, so that way you're fresh for that next session. And it's also a great way to recover after a race or a really hard session. So for example, you did your race and you don't want to get back straight into running again. You might do 3 or 4 days of just easy cycling, like really low intensity, just pumping our blood around the legs. So actually when you do come back to training and running again, you are a lot fresher. You obviously move the blood around the legs enough that now you can actually restart your training cycle again. One thing that I really like about cross training is that you can actually build up strength in different areas of your body. So as runners, we obviously use our legs mainly, but this is a great way that we can actually build up a stronger core, build up some strength in your upper body, so your running form is a lot stronger. It's a good way, especially if you're running on the trails, to build different leg muscles that are needed more for the uphills or the downhills. So it's a really kind of an important way to get your body stronger overall. So as runners, obviously our legs get a lot of attention in our running and they are fairly strong most of the time. But cross training can really kind of be that last piece of that puzzle of having an overall healthy body and being, stronger through your running, just because your whole body as a whole is a lot stronger now. Personally, the way I use cross training usually is actually building up to an ultra marathon. So I've been running for a really long time. I've ran, over 60 ultra marathons in my life. So obviously I have enough endurance base in my legs to be able to race those distances. But in the lead up to an ultra marathon, especially the ones that are like 50 miles plus, I usually add some cycling into my training. So I know that the race is going to take 15 hours, for example. And it's not easy running 15 to 20 hours a week. So I'm going to kind of compensate that with some cycling. Some of those sessions could be hard when I'm looking to get more out of my cross training and when I want to build up my cardio strength. But most of the time it's just volume. So I'll do, during the week, I'll do my normal training. So let's say 160 kilometers of running a week. But then I'll add another 5 or 6 hours of cycling during the week. And that can be maybe 4 times 1 hour or 3 times 2 hours. I'll kind of keep them to fit my running in that way that my weekly mileage or time on my legs has just increased. And then I'm getting ready for being on my feet, being on my legs for a lot longer during an ultra marathon. The good thing about cycling in particular is if you are a trail runner and your race has got a lot of downhill running, a lot of elevation, cycling is a great way to build your quad muscles. So for me, I know that going into a race with a lot of elevation, I want to add the cycling as well to make sure that my legs, my quads are just a little bit stronger to take that impact of downhill running. And it's a little bit different from my experience anyway. It's a little bit different than just lifting weights and getting my quads stronger that way compared to building that strength through cycling. Because obviously to build strength through cycling, you got to cycle a lot. And it's kind of similar to running. You got to do it a lot of times to build that strength up. And that means that, when I'm running downhill, it's usually not 2 or 3 steps downhill. It's, thousands of steps on every single downhill. So that kind of strength that I get from cycling, is really useful personally in downhill running. So leading up to any race with a lot of elevation that I know that I'll be running a lot of downhill, lead up to that, I'll be putting a lot of cycling in to make sure that my quads can actually be strong enough for that race. But then, for example, leading up to a marathon, I might not use cycling at all. So I'm focused in a marathon on like leg turnover and maybe being a little bit faster. So cycling for my level or where I'm at right now is not the perfect place. But if I took 3 months off running completely and then I wanted to do a marathon, I would definitely be using cycling or any other cross training to rebuild my base again, to be able to, run for 3 hours, 2.5 hours, so on, whatever. But it is kind of making sure that, I use cross training in my own training to my goals at certain different times. So, overall, that might sound a bit confusing there towards the end. But to summarize, you could use cross training to take your running to the next level, to reach the gap between distances for recovery, to stay fit off season. I would highly recommend for you to do some cross training no matter what level you are, because you can get a lot of benefits from that if it's through recovery, building muscle, bridging the gap. There's a lot of benefits in cross training, and that can be anything from yoga, cycling, kayaking, hiking, anything could consider as cross training, and find the stuff that you like as well and you enjoy, and it would just make it a lot easier to be a complement to your running. So have a look at cross training as a side dish to your running. So it's not your main sport, it's that little side dish together with strength work and recovery and all the other dishes that you need around that running, that obviously to keep that running strong, you need to do all those little side things. Hopefully you got a little bit of value out of this video and you can find a way to fit some cross training to your own schedule. And also make sure you check out this video right here. It's my marathon documentary that I ran literally just 2 weeks ago. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.